what do I need to stop doing and what do I need to start doing? And the reason I have people start off with this is not to judge yourself, but to start recognizing your habits that are either unhelpful habits and habits that you can create that would be very helpful to creating your success.
Today, I get to speak with Devin Roscillo. She's an activation and mindset coach who helps women claim their confidence and become their fullest, boldest selves. Devin helps female entrepreneurs step into their confidence so they can love themselves fully and take their businesses to the next level. She works with them on their self-limiting beliefs, also known as the BS stories and lies we tell ourselves that hold us back. Devin helps them release those beliefs and ignite the flame inside of themselves to create an abundant life and business. She creates incredibly activating and soul-aligned group coaching programs to support female entrepreneurs who want to create rock-solid community, collaborate, and create fire businesses and ignite their inner bold selves. So let's listen into this episode as we speak with Devin Roscillo. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. Devin, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Junaid. I really appreciate it, and I'm very excited.
Recording a podcast episode, guest episode, gives me so much joy because we get to connect one-on-one with the guest, and then, it's just that you're just building a stronger bond, stronger relationship in that moment, in that time period. It's almost like having a one-on-one coffee chat or whatever it is, it's just a way to connect without any distractions, because we know that we're recording this. We know that this is going to be weird for ages to come, right? So we have a responsibility to be truthful, honest, and, be a better person, I guess. I don't know.
And be present with each other. Yeah. Yes, I very much agree.
Yeah, because most of the times when you're hanging out with people in person, you've got your phone out and like, yeah, hey, check out this. Like, oh, let me check this. But with a podcast, you're like, okay, I'm present. I want to provide the most value possible in this time that you're listening. So thank you so much.
Yes. So I shouldn't start screen sharing a YouTube video right now. That's what you're saying.
Oh, we could. I mean, there's been some really good videos, like the Holderness family. They're just totally blown up. I love what they're doing. They used to do parody videos, they first created a video that it was like a Christmas video like 4 years ago, and it blew up in the entire internet. And now with COVID, they've been doing some crazy videos all around. What if the sitcoms were created in a COVID era? What would they sound like?
Right? No, that is a fun family. I haven't followed them recently, so I'll have to check them out now.
Yeah, I'll check it out. All right, so let's jump right in. I wanted to bring you on and find out your origin story. So tell us a version of your journey that no one's heard of before.
Okay. Oh, that no one's heard of before. Okay. Let's see. So I was going to tell you my story about how I left my speech pathology job and became an entrepreneur. But some people do know that story. So I'm going to tell it anyway.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell it anyway.
Still get into it. Yeah.
No, I think it's one of the most defining moments in my life that has really shaped who I am now. So I'm going to dive in. So I, for 4 years, was a speech pathologist. After I graduated with my graduate degree, I became a medical speech pathologist. And over those 4 years, I noticed myself really just not feeling fulfilled. I wasn't feeling into it. I felt like I wasn't living really my life's purpose and just wasn't living up to my true potential. I wasn't learning and growing. And so over the course of that 4 years, I started, I think it was 2016 17, I started listening to podcasts and exploring my personal development and really starting to grow as a person. But over that time, I still felt like I wasn't growing as a professional. And that was really challenging for me. So take you to last November, 2019, I was absolutely miserable in my job. I was working as a pediatric speech pathologist, which was even further from what I wanted to do. And I was driving to my building. I pulled up to the building of the place that I worked. It was a pouring gray day. And I just started bawling, like sobbing the moment that I pulled into the parking lot and actually parked. And that lasted for like an hour because every time I thought about going into the building, I just cried more. I literally couldn't fathom it. I couldn't fathom, going somewhere knowing that I would just be miserable for 8 to 10 hours. And finally, at the end of that like sobbing hour, I finally thought to myself, like, what the am I doing to myself? Why am I doing this to myself? And I chose to turn my car around and drive home the hour in the rain that day and go home and take a mental health day, right? But the next day I chose to give my notice and I quit that job with really not much of a backup plan. I knew I had wanted to start a business for a while, but that is how my coaching business started. And how I became an entrepreneur and started feeling like I finally am living like this free, purposeful, growth-oriented life. And it's awesome. And it was the best decision I've ever made. I'm so glad I hit rock bottom to actually get to this place that I'm in now.
Wow. So you totally did a 180. Like, I'm going to just go out and make it happen for myself because it's not making me happy. And you just jumped right in, which is, it's almost like burning the boats, right?
Yeah.
We're on the beach, burn the boats, make it happen. Mm-hmm. Really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know. I think if I had done it differently and had like a backup plan or had still had my job, I just wouldn't have been able to use full passion and full energy to dive into my business. So I needed to just say bye to the job and like depend on myself only and create the life that I wanted through like knowing that I really won't have anything else. Does that make sense?
And I've got so many thoughts going on in my mind. I can't even focus on one of them. So when you decided, okay, this is going to be it, you're like, because sometimes you, like, that's what I've been doing. I've been doing side hustles, and each side hustle requires different mental capacity.
Yes.
But what you wanted to do required all of your mental capacity. And when you're in a space that capacity is drained as soon as you enter the building, it's impossible to recharge till the next day. And then it's all over.
Yes.
Same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Coaching really does require, well, at least the way I like to do it, really does require me to show up as my full self in, my truth, my authentic self, and really in the place where I'm ready to serve and give, because I know that's going to create the best outcomes for my clients. And I knew that if I was giving from like a half-assed place, which I would have had to do because I didn't have enough energy, I wouldn't have been able to deliver results for my clients, and I wouldn't have been able to encourage them and push them the way that I do. So I just wouldn't have had it in me. So yeah, that's a really good point.
So what keeps you motivated now? So it's been almost a year, right? Almost a year into your full-time entrepreneurship. You're a bold entrepreneur. How do you keep that motivation going?
So I think the way I keep my motivation going is, first, I look at my motto, which is hilarious. I'm going to tell you in a moment. But I then look at my why as well. So my motto is kind of like the first layer that I remind myself of, and that is one of Eminem's lines. And it's, success is my only mother effing option, failure's not. And that's something that I have believed and felt so true, has been so true for me for so many years. but I wasn't sure how to implement it before. Now I do know. So when I'm feeling down or whatever, or uninspired, that's the motto I go to. But then I also look at my why, which is ultimately to provide my family, my parents, with the big, limitless life that they weren't able to give me, even like no matter how hard they really, really tried. They put in so much effort and energy to giving everything to myself and my sister. And I think they wanted us to live it in a fuller capacity as children and as young adults, and they would have loved to give more. And it didn't work that way for them. But I now want to be able to give back to them in the way that I know they tried so hard to give to me. And I want them to live a fabulous, luxurious lifestyle and do whatever they want with whatever, because life is limitless for them. So that's my why, and that keeps me motivated.
That's so beautiful. Being able to provide, being able to give back, right? It's so important. It like I was talking to my dad the other day, and we were talking about how important it is to keep the communication lines open. And I'm not good at that. I'm not good at talking to my parents or my siblings. I'm the oldest of 7.
Oh, wow.
And we're not talking. We're not on a daily talking situation, mainly because, first of all, time zone differences. They're all in Cali, and I'm in Virginia, the East Coast, so that doesn't chime in. And then everybody's got a different mindset around so many different things. And the more I think about, I want to push this forward and have that connection. I almost feel like that I need to show up as who they expect me to be, rather than who I want to be, who I am to others, who I am to the people that I'm teaching, video and whatnot.
Right.
So it feels like I don't have anything to share or give, and if I do, am I judging? Am I, so it's
right.
That's a really awesome way to, have goals, mindset set up and goals. And I want to be able to offer that for my parents too. Right. So,
yeah. Can I add something? Because I think it's interesting what you were just saying about, not necessarily being able to connect on the same level that you'd like to with family. And I have had the same challenge in the past, more so in the context of like my family pushing their own limiting beliefs onto me, or like their concerns onto me. And when people do that, it limits the way we think about ourselves and what our potential is. And so something that I learned to do, or taught myself to do, I guess, with my family was to, for a period of time, not share with them. So not share with them what is really exciting to me until I've made it something tangible and they can see how incredible the outcomes are, which sounds weird, but there continues to be added doubt in you if they don't see that tangible outcome like quickly, just because I think the instant gratification society that we're in, people want to see big results. And so keeping the like minute wins, I guess, kind of quiet until it's something big has been really, really supportive with my relationship with my family, actually. And then just choosing also to meet them where they're at and find something relatable to them until you have that really big victory. Those have been two really helpful things. Not like giving you advice or anything. I just
that's exactly what I've been doing, right? I've been like, I'm just busy with work and kids, and that's a fact, right? And do I want to get into what I want to do? Because I always feel like I've been the most enthusiastic one all the times, and be told like, no, how are you gonna make that happen, right? But my mom's always been like, you should be doing this and making business and getting money through that. Where's that coming? So it's been pretty interesting, but it's fine. I've outgrown that person that I used to be and I'm more confident. I'm more certain in what I want from life, and it's helped to, I guess it helps to be older.
Older and wiser.
Yeah. Oh man.
That's awesome though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Devin,
Yes.
tell us what type of coaching and so number one, you're
Yes.
a speech pathologist. So talk us about what your expertise are.
Okay. Ooh, I'm going to go against everything that I should do. So my expertise in speech pathology now is insignificant to me because I'll be leaving the field. I'll be leaving the field by the end of this year. It's not where my heart and my passion and soul is aligned. And not that I don't care to share it. It's just I actually have been on a process over the past year of unidentifying as with speech pathology. It was interesting when I started transitioning into coaching. I always said to people, I'm a speech pathologist and a coach. And I realized that I still truly associated or felt aligned with speech pathology, even though I didn't. It was still part of my identity. And at this point now, I can easily say to people, I'm an activation and mindset coach. I don't even say I'm a speech pathologist anymore. And it's really, really cool. And I love how I've been able to watch, my own journey evolve and how I've been able to put that pause and silence there at the end of I'm a coach and refrain from saying the speech pathologist part. Because for me, actually, it was part of my identity that I didn't want to be aligned with anymore. And it was also a safety blanket for me as well.
That's really empowering, because the more you say who you are, the more your mind that's who I am. That's who I am. I mean, I still call myself a designer, right? I've been designing for ages, but I want to step out of there. But if I do step out of that, who am I? Am I this video guy? Am I, what's my vision? And I think having that conversation with yourself is so important. You set that vision, and having people in your corner also helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that is a really good question too. Who am I? Something that I had to shift out of last year too was identifying or introducing myself as what I am, not who I am. So oftentimes, it depends on the day, but oftentimes if I'm in an interview or not a job interview, or a collaboration or whatever, I'll introduce myself as a bold and inspired woman first. So actually learning to identify with the who we are and introducing ourselves that way, we cement it. And we hear it. The more we hear it, the more we say it, the more we believe that to be true. And we can hold on to our own and hold on to our true identity as opposed to only associating who we are to our profession. So I think that's interesting. And something when I was doing career coaching, I taught that to my clients as well. Is learn who you are first and actually tell them that, because that makes you stand out and makes you unique as well.
Absolutely. And once we know who we are, I think it's easier to then set the path. Okay, this is who I am. Yeah. And I think a lot of people talk about reverse engineering. Let's figure out, where do you want to go? Okay, how do we get there? It's almost like you want to get to Costco. Well, here's the instructions on how to get there. And I think that's what coaching really is, or that's what human beings really lack, and that's why we go to school. So somebody can tell us, okay, can you just tell me who I'm supposed to be? Because I can't figure out who I'm supposed to be. So I'm going to pay you a ton of money, go to school. You tell me, should I be a doctor? Should I be this and that? And then we also associate, okay, which one of these profession is going to make me the most money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, very
which
true.
is hilarious because I look at people that have so many different jobs and how much time they're putting in that job and how much money it's making back to them, and then their level of enthusiasm around that job that they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, somebody calls job J-O-B as you're just over broke. Right. It's a job because you're just over broke. You're not wealthy.
Right.
You don't have, so it's really interesting. So what inspired you to, first of all, take the path to become a speech pathologist? Like, I'm sure there was some point in your life to like, oh, that's going to be so cool.
Right. Exactly. There was, yes. So in college, when I was 18, I started dating a guy that I dated for 6 years, and he had a son who was 2 at the time when I met him. And his son had a motor speech disorder. And I decided to, as we dated, I decided to take a speech pathology class or it wasn't actually a speech pathology class. It was called Intro to Communications Disorders, because I thought it would be really cool if I could actually help him learn to speak with better articulation or more precise articulation. And I thought it would be really cool. So I took that class and it was fascinating. It was really, really interesting to learn about the human brain and how everything works with anatomy and physiology. And so I thought that, hey, maybe this is what I want to do. I have always been fascinated in the mind and the brain. And so this was the path that I knew to take in college. And I don't regret any moment of it either, because it taught me a lot about the brain and the mind, and it taught me a lot about perseverance, and it taught me ultimately about not staying in something that you don't love, not staying in something that doesn't fulfill you, and to actually live my life's passion. I think that if I hadn't gotten to that my breaking point, essentially my rock bottom, I might not have ever found what I wanted to be doing and what actually fulfills me. So it was a huge learning experience, those 4 years.
Now that's really, really cool, because your innate nature was to help someone.
Yes.
Right? So that remains the same. You're still helping other folks.
Yeah.
But maybe not speech, maybe, from a different perspective, but then you got that mind, the knowledge of the mind, like how the mind works. I think it's one of the most beautiful things that has been talked and thought about for centuries. I mean, when I started listening to Tony Robbins, it was like late night, probably 3 a.m. watching TV, and I see this infomercial come on. I'm like, who is this man? I called the 800 number. I signed up for the personal power. I'm like, give me these CDs because I need to learn more. And I was in my 20s, and I was like, I want to, I was already into technology, but I was in this zone where I wanted to grow in a totally different perspective, grow the mind. And this learning about him, reading 750 plus books on the human mind and psychology, it's just like, holy smokes, this guy knows what's up.
Everything. Yeah, he's pretty incredible. And that's hilarious that you learned about him on an infomercial.
Oh, that's how, that's how it all starts. Like, that was back in the 90s.
Yeah, right. And it's incredible how long he's been around too, and like how powerful and like amazing and influential he still is too.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's grown from the different ways he markets his stuff too, right? So he's done a ton of joint ventures with so many people. I remember he did a joint venture with Frank Kern, when internet marketing was huge. And then recently he did the mastermind knowledge base or whatever with Dean Graziosi. And I just watched the parts with Tony Robbins.
I won't tell Dean.
Yeah, don't tell Dean. I mean, I guess it also comes back to like what the morals. I think the morals, who you are as a person and who you relate to. Like a ton of people talk about Jim Rohn. I've never heard of Jim Rohn, and
I haven't.
I've never heard him speak, but I know he was Tony Robbins' teacher, right? So really cool to see like where it all comes, like where our thoughts start off and how they move us along in our journey in our life and becoming who we really want to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting watching people evolve as well. And just going back to the values, essentially, I think it's important to have core values. I mean, we all do, whether we know it or not. But in going back also to defining who you are, defining what your values are too, is really, really useful, especially in business, because if we're going to make any decision, we can ask ourselves, is this aligned with my values? And that's a simple yes or no answer, right? And that can keep us from making some foolish business decision and keep us on track.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said.
Thank you.
Just today I was watching Pat Flynn, and he was playing back a video from 2009 of himself talking about a workspace. And he's like, all right, guys, this is where I'm doing my blogging. It's this small little nook that he's got his computer, and he's working from there. And he's got some cool phrases on the wall that keeps him reminding, and he tells his story about how he was let go. His wife was pregnant, and they didn't have health insurance. They had to pay for everything. And it's like he wouldn't have been able to do it if he didn't have the business. Like they paid $20,000 for their first baby because they didn't have health insurance.
Oh my gosh!
I'm like, wow, that's insane. And then later on, we see him turn the camera on, and you see Pat Flynn from 2009, and he looks so young, and without the beard, he looks even more younger. So it's really cool. Just him reacting to himself, just watching that. So funny.
That's awesome. He runs I actually met him virtually a few months ago. He runs a San Diego entrepreneurs, just like monthly conversation in Zoom.
Yeah.
I was happy to partake in at one point. He's a cool guy. And it's a great group for sure.
Yeah. No, he's part of some really amazing groups. He's a board of director on lots of really cool companies as well. Yeah. And I get to interact with him when I'm on these classroom calls or office hours with him, because I purchased a few courses from him that I need to implement because squirrel.
I feel bad.
So that's where I'm at right now, and this was a ton of fun. So Devin, tell us a little more about what your entrepreneurship as an entrepreneur. How are you helping your clients? What are some of the tips that my audience can take away and apply it into their lives right now and see some results?
That's a great question. I think, let's see, what do I want to actually talk about today? So I personally, one of my go-to tools for mindset coaching is the bulk of what I do right now. I help people shift from a fixed or scarcity mindset to a growth or abundance mindset so that they can live more confidently, so that they can excel in their businesses and take more bold and inspired action. That's the mindset piece. I'm also an activation coach as well. So I marry the two together and essentially serve as really a catalyst. I'm just realizing this recently. I'm essentially a catalyst to helping people actually like find the fire inside of them and learn what their soul wants instead of just what their ego wants. And I've found that when we operate and we do business or just life from a soul aligned place, we actually are able to become more magnetic. We're able to become more confident and bold, as like my word is, and really just bring stuff to life, like bring your goals to life instead of like walking around them or tiptoeing around them forever. Anyway, so one thing that I want to recommend to your audience is journaling, or I also call it intentional writing, only to differentiate it from like traditional journaling. So when people think of journaling, they usually just think about like writing thoughts and feelings on paper. And I think that certainly has a lot of validity and it has its benefits as well. But I like to journal very, very intentionally. So I have a number of prompts, essentially like a template that I'll use. And I have a number of prompts that I'll use, such as setting a daily intention. So who you want to be and who you want to show up as today. So, a daily intention is as simple as like, I will be and act intentionally in everything that I do today, because it's funny how we can walk through life, like floating through life, not even having an aim in the world from day to day, And then I go through gratitude in my journaling as well. And I go through money visions and mantras to start goal setting and attaining. And two of my favorite pieces of my journaling process are the reflection, yesterday's reflection. So that is actually looking back on your whole day yesterday and going through and writing down a number of things that you did. If you can recall everything from the day before, great. But actually acknowledging yourself for everything that you've done, because it's funny when you get to the end of the day, you usually feel like you haven't done anything. And if you actually write down all the small things you did, you're like, oh, damn, I actually am very productive. And I actually feel really good about getting that task done. So yesterday's reflection really reminds you to acknowledge yourself and thank yourself for how productive you've been or successful in whatever way. And then my final, most exciting piece to me, because I'll tell you why, but I ask myself a self-awareness empowerment question. So I'll always ask myself a really, really hard question that I know will evoke emotions or at least inspire me in some way. So I'm trying to think of mine from today, but one of the ones that I have clients start off with usually is, what do I need to, it's a two-parter. What do I need to stop doing and what do I need to start doing? And the reason I have people start off with this is not to judge yourself, but to start recognizing your habits that are either unhelpful habits and habits that you can create that would be very helpful to creating your success. So that's one of the empowerment questions that we start off with. And then moving on from there, we use what do I need to start doing to create success habits? So long story short, I suggest journaling, intentional writing. I think it's really, really great to be reflective. It gives you a lot of self-awareness. And of course, practicing gratitude as well is really beneficial, so that we can start, rewiring our minds to actually default to the positive thinking instead of thinking about woe is me, oh, this is happening and it's awful and blah, blah, blah.
No, that's a really excellent tip. So number one, journaling or intentional writing. Mm-hmm. Number two is reflection on what you did yesterday, what you're going to plan to do today.
Yes.
And then number three,
self-awareness.
Self-aware and grateful.
So
number two was gratefulness.
Yeah, so all of those things that I mentioned tie into my journaling process. So those are all pieces that you can put in the journaling prompts for the day. So just like a very quick rundown, I do daily intention, I do gratitude, a money vision, yesterday's reflection, and a self-awareness empowerment question.
Perfect.
So, yeah. But you certainly, if you are starting to journal, you don't have to do all of them. I really want to emphasize. Yeah, I really want to emphasize that to your audience, just because when I do start with a client, they're always like, oh, but it's so much. And you don't have to start with that many. I usually suggest that you start with just 1 or 2 of those prompts to get into the habit of journaling every day. Yeah. And then you add and build as you go.
Love it.
Thank you.
It's really cool.
Thank you. It's been a huge game changer in my life. That was one of the first success habits I started with when I started doing personal development. And over time, I gradually essentially built that template and made it, my own unique tool, because I have found that those are the things that really keep me most on track and make me focus on what is positive and good and great in the world, so that I can continue reframing my mindset and training myself to be forward focused instead of reflecting and always focusing on the negative things that have happened.
Yeah, it's a great way to remind yourself, right? Hey, look at all the positive stuff that's happening. We're above ground. Yes. We've got a roof over our head. We've got food in our belly.
Yes.
All of those things, I think, have that positive impact on who we are as human beings, and be able to show up for others and be more helpful.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that.
Yes, absolutely.
So at this point, we had a really great conversation. I want to go into the fun round, it's been all fun. The quick round on what Devin's all about.
Yeah.
All right. What is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
One hobby. So this is location dependent, but this is the first thing that came to me randomly, and that would be surfing. I would love to. Yeah, I think that would be really cool to live by a beach and go surfing every single day and just be in a state of bliss and open waters.
Oh yeah, that sounds awesome. I know my cousin took some lessons a few years ago, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna learn how to surf." I'm like, all right, cool, make it happen. And the closest I got to surfing was snowboarding, which we did, a few years ago. I haven't gone back in, for a long time. All right, what did you want to be when you were a child?
When I was a child, I wanted to be a doctor, which makes sense as to why I became a medical speech pathologist. It wasn't nearly as much schooling and nearly as much debt. So that's why I chose to be a medical speech pathologist instead of a doctor.
Nice.
Yes.
What is your favorite movie or TV show?
What is my favorite movie or TV show? Oh, I don't have one.
Or how about a book?
A book.
That helps.
I think that my favorite book, and I think I wrote something different, but my favorite book as a younger person, and probably now if I reread it, is Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. It was a really good story, teaching a lot of life lessons about the gratitude of life and the journey of life and stuff. It was very good.
Ooh, that's where the gratitude comes from. Ooh,
yes.
I like it. What movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Ooh, good question. I would be in the 300 as King Leonidas. Yes, exactly.
Awesome movie. Awesome character. All right. Next one is who is your favorite superhero, or what is your superhero power?
Okay, so favorite superhero, I guess I don't have one. This is a joke, but my favorite but back when I went to adult summer camp, my superpower was ability to take naps anywhere, anytime, no matter what. But I think, truthfully, my superpower would be resilience, overcoming anything and everything, no matter what's thrown at you.
Nice. I like it.
Thanks.
I have the superpower of napping too, so
It's really great when you have that skill.
Yeah, I know you cannot. It's awesome. Last question: if you were a board game, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Well, I made up a board game when I was younger, but I can't remember what it was or what the concept was. But I think that I would be a board game. I would make up one. A board game where you have to consistently think on your feet and create something as you go. And that's all I got. Innovating and problem solving the whole time. Yeah.
So there's thousands of books being published every day or every week or every month? There's also thousands of new board games.
Really?
To life. Yeah.
Huh.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, if you know Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he created a board game called Cash Flow or The Rat Race, where and so he created the board game just so you can learn all about money and whatnot. So yeah, that's cool. Board games are another way to and right now what we're seeing is we see a lot of card games coming out. A ton, like every way. Like there's even a card, like set of cards that you can buy for podcasters. Like you have questions.
Yeah.
Here's a podcast deck that you can ask questions.
Yeah, that's fun.
So you stay, is that word fun, or do you stay creative, I guess.
Is it really creative, though, if you're pulling from a pile of pre-made cards?
Well, the other person doesn't have a clue of what those questions are going to be, so,
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
That sounds
All
great.
Right. So, Devin, it's been a ton of fun. Thank you for sharing your origin story, how you quit the 9-to-5 to jump into your own entrepreneurship, became your own boss. And the question is, do you like your new boss more than your last boss?
Ooh, that's not a nice question, but yes, I do.
Of course you do. Awesome. That's why we, as entrepreneurs, we like to work with ourselves, with our mind, and set up a roadmap for ourselves because we love what we do and we want to share that gratitude, that power with everybody else. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story, sharing your journey, your motivations, and the favorite board game you'd be. So once you do create that board game, what is it going to be called?
I don't know. Now I have to make it.
Now you got to make it.
Now I got to commit. What is it going to be called? It's going to be Innovation Station.
Ooh, I like it.
Thank you.
As long as it's not jump to conclusion. Devin, this was a ton of fun. Thank you so much for coming on. And again, have an awesome day. Where can my audience find you? Oh, yes. So honestly, I'm strange and I really like to just connect on Facebook. That's where I'm at the majority of the time. So I am Devin Roscillo on Facebook, and I use my personal page as my business page too, because that's where I'm most authentic and myself. So awesome. You can find me there. Well, we'll plug in those links into the show notes so people can get to you. And thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Sinead. This was fun. Have a good one. You too. Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on the website hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests.